The dingo could be considered somewhat of an Australian icon, a familiar sight within the narrative of the Australian outback. Though the dingo looks very much like a dog, a domesticated one at that, it is in fact a wild, predatory animal. As a result, interactions with the wild dingo tend to be cautious. However, there are varied approaches. Perhaps it is the wild, iconic imagery of the dingo that explains why it appeals to some as a pet. Dingo hybrids have become a popular pet choice among Australians through its supervised interbreeding with domesticated dogs. Presumably, this is to integrate qualities of tamer breeds, such as a predisposition for a gentle temperament. There are also those that appreciate the dingo as a wild animal and seek to conserve the species in its natural habitat. Groups such as the Dingo Discovery and Research Centre of Victoria, Australia, are eager to preserve the original dingo gene through breeding, rescue and husbandry programs. These groups tend to focus on the dingo as a wild animal, as opposed to a pet. Part of their function is to educate the public about this in order to encourage safe conduct with the animal. By contrast, the state government of Victoria classifies the dingo-dog hybrid, in addition to the wild dog, as pests. They distinguish pest from the pure dingo, though mention it is often almost impossible to tell the difference between the two. As a result, the dingo population is affected by the wild dog trapping, baiting, or shooting that occurs. These types of interactions attribute varying degrees of worth to the dingo. The pet lover, the dingo is an adventurous, active, and very Australian dog. For the conservationist, the dingo is a precious commodity to be protected. And for others, the dingo is not necessarily worthless, but outweighed by human needs and concerns. As we have discussed, the dingo is considered a pest by the Victorian government. For an animal to be placed on this list, they must be considered a significant risk to society and the environment. Whilst the dingo might look like the familiar domestic canine, it is thought to pose a variety of threats. One of these is highlighted by the Lindy Chamberlain case of 1980. Chamberlain was arrested and later sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of her child during a holiday to Uluru. The Australian magazine published an article in 2013 after the Deputy Coroner of the Northern Territory finally ruled the cause of death as an attack by dingo. This was almost 30 years after the incident occurred. Lindy had always claimed this was the case, coining the infamous catchphrase, "A dingo's got my baby." In reality, though, attacks are isolated and rare. Wikipedia lists only 7 known cases from between 1980 and 2012. This is far less than the risks imposed by domestic dogs, that in the USA are responsible for 16 attacks per year. Janice Bradley looked at these statistics and others in her 2005 piece entitled "Dogs Bite, but Balloons and Slippers Are More Dangerous." According to the Department of Environment and Primary Industries, the feral dingo-dog hybrid poses a significant number of risks to humans and the environment. These include their predation of livestock and native fauna and the destruction of flora and property. This is thought to be a cause of financial hardship for farmers, having not only adverse economical implications, but also a detrimental effect upon communities. There are also a variety of diseases and parasites carried by the feral dingo-dog hybrids, including rabies, that may be passed on to humans or other animals. The Journal of Zoology contests that recent research proves that the dingo is actually a beneficial predator within the environment, for example, driving out foreign animals such as the red fox. The journal notes, however, that the dingo-dog hybrid is a major cause of concern. In present day, positive attitudes toward the dingo are indicated by the movement for its conservation and the desire to own one as a pet. Though this was not always the case. A 2009 article on behalf of the American Institute of Biosciences indicated that dingoes have been vigorously hunted since 1830. The dingo has been on the continent for 4,000 years or more and was used by the Aborigines as a companion animal. Despite this, more than 100 years of culling has meant that the dingo is now classified as a threatened species in the Flora and Fauna Guarantee Act of 1988. A parallel can be seen in an analysis of the now extinct Tasmanian tiger. The Tasmanian tiger was also considered a threat to livestock and was hunted excessively as a result. The publication Nature revisited the last known member of the species that died in captivity during 1936. Incidents such as these could be contributing factors to the changing opinion of dingoes. These kinds of anxieties about disappearing animals fuel a dramatic change in how a creature is perceived. Even further from the original concept of the dingo as a pest is the fact that Australians have shown a growing interest in hybrid dingoes as pets. This too may be related to the decreasing wild population. When anything of value becomes a rarity, we often see an increase in its perceived worth. Research published by the Journal of Zoology has shown that the genetic makeup of dingoes comes from a subspecies of wolf and is different again to that of the domestic canine. Those looking for an exotic pet may be more inclined to opt for the dingo hybrid